Hello there, I'm Dr. Powell. Today I'm going to go over a mega session case in a young guy in his mid-20s who's already having signs of advanced hair loss. The purpose of this video is not so much to go over the controversies of doing a hair transplant on younger guys, but more so to illustrate the importance of doing the right thing for the right patient at the right time. And for a young guy with advanced stages of hair loss, the right thing can include doing a hair transplant using a conservative approach. Male pattern hair loss can begin at any age in adulthood, and for some this begins as early as the time puberty ends. It is estimated about 20% of guys in their 20s will exhibit signs of a significant hair thinning and hair loss at varying degrees. And whether or not guys want to admit it, aside from the negative impacts on physical appearance, hair loss can lead to many negative psychological impacts, such as insecurities about their appearance, feelings of unattractiveness, loss of sense of virility and masculinity, and also a sense of loss of youth. And this can lead to feelings of anxiety, hopelessness, depression, and even social withdrawal. So obviously, hair loss can be very traumatizing to men experiencing it, and even more so for younger guys with more advanced stages of hair loss. So it makes sense to do a hair transplant in a younger guy using a conservative approach rather than have him needlessly suffer for years these negative impacts before doing something about it. So let's take a look at some photos. You can clearly see that he already has signs of advanced hair loss with significant recession of his frontal hairline and corners. You can also see significant thinning and miniaturization that involves the frontal forelock as well as the mid-scalp and vertex. To give you a frame of reference, someone with this extent of hair loss will need to have about 7,000 grafts to give coverage from front to back. And since most donor regions can give between 2,500 and a little over 3,000 grafts safely in one procedure, he would need to have two big procedures to give him that coverage from front to back. During the initial consultation, I recommended that we focus on the more cosmetically important area, which is the frontal half, which is what we did. So we came up with a plan to recreate his hairline to help him make him look his age and not put him in a bad spot later on down the line. This is how he looked immediately post-op. Because he has great donor density, we were able to get 3,181 grafts. I did a dense pack starting with the immediate hairline that was set at a conservative height that looks good now and will continue to look good years later as he ages. And because of his coarser hair type, I did a more undulating pattern at the hairline. We rebuilt the entire frontal half with a big FUT procedure, which is exactly what he needed. In performing hair transplants, you can almost never go wrong having a conservative approach and utilizing the graft strategically, because hair loss is a progressive, ongoing condition. And this mindset is even more important in the younger guy because more often than not, it's very difficult to predict the future extent of hair loss in somebody in their 20s. But here in this case, it was obvious that he was going to be in advanced stage Norwood 6 or 7. Nonetheless, we were able to accomplish the job conservatively while preserving his donor region and keeping his future hair restoration needs and goal in mind. So 6 months later, he came in for a follow-up, and this is how we looked. And you can see he already has an amazing transformation in only 6 months after his surgery. The face is nicely reframed with the newly created hairline, literally taking years off of his appearance, letting him look his age. He has a beautiful, well-defined hairline that looks appropriate and natural, and that is going to age well with him over time. Here are some comparison shots so you can really appreciate what we did here. We rebuilt the entire frontal half of the scalp, starting with the hairline and the recession in the corners, and we achieved a very good density with a single pass. And again, this is only 6 months after the procedure, so he still has a bit more growing to do. The hairs that have already popped through will continue to mature and thicken, and the hairs that are still resting beneath the scalp surface will begin to wake up and pop through the scalp, further adding to the density and thickness. I'm very excited to see what he'll look like in another 6 months or so. And here's a wet comb through video taken from that same day. I just wetted down the hair with a water bottle and combed through his hair. You can see that he has very good density with the single pass, and I don't think he'll need to do anything more with the front. I think the hairline looks great and very natural. So this was a presentation of a mega session that focused on the more cosmetically important areas of a young guy with advanced stages of hair loss, where we built a nice solid foundation to the frontal half of the scalp, and which is what he needed. And because he already has signs of advanced thinning and loss in the second back half of the scalp, he'll likely want to come back at a future date to get that second half done. And he'll be able to do so because we left him in a good position, because we preserved his donor area by doing a strip procedure, which is the most efficient way of accessing the donor region and getting grafts. And this will leave him with plenty of donor hairs for future surgery. And if you look like the guy in this video in the before photos, and then this is likely the approach and plan that you will need. As always, thanks again for watching the video. I hope you found this interesting, and please stay tuned for more videos in the future.